Mark Levin here. The post-election economy could be a minefield of inflation, massive debt, and currency instability. That's why I count on gold for my financial protection. When it comes to gold, I only trust Advantage Gold. They're one of the top gold companies in America, and that's who I turn to for my own investments. Call them now, 800-900-8000, for a free gold investment kit, and see if you qualify for $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Don't wait and see if post-election chaos destroys your savings. Act preemptively. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Over 15 million Americans have voted early. Are you one of them? Our goal here is vote early. In every state that allows it, almost every state does. Today is Tuesday. Have you voted early? Some of you have, most of you have not. I encourage you to do it, please, for yourself, for your family, for your country. It's not asking too much. In fact, it's not asking much in the least. Earlier today, I had a great interview with President Trump, and we're going to play it in its entirety, starting in the next 15 or 20 seconds here. But you'll see he's calm, he's relaxed, he's focused, he's enjoying himself. Kamala took the day off. She needs to rest and prepare for her CNN interview. Pathetic, 14 days before an election. In any event, here we go. Here's my interview with President Donald Trump. It's an honor to have President Trump with us, America. And we have a couple of questions for President Trump. First of all, President Trump, I have to say this. I feel like you're one of my dear friends. I know you very well. You seem on the campaign trail. You're happy. You're relaxed. You're going on offense. You got real policies. You're focused on what you want to do. You're reaching out to every community in America. It doesn't matter if they typically vote Democrat or Republican. You've got substantive tax cuts. You've got substantive policies. You're pushing school choice. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris is talking about, she's sophomoric. You're going to round up people and put them in prison. You got to be nuts to think that. Or you've only said, 1,000 times, I do not believe in a national ban on abortion, and they're spending $100 million saying you do, and on and on. What do you make of all this? Yeah.
It's so terrible. Everything like IVF, every single thing that whatever I'm for, they make it the opposite. Look, I've dealt with Crooked Hillary. I've dealt with Biden, Sleepy Joe. I've dealt with all of them. There's no liar like these people. These are the worst. And you know why? Because they have nothing going. Every single thing. They even said, oh, he doesn't want to frack. Okay, now I've been for fracking and drilling. I've never spent a day of my life or an hour saying, don't do it. I'm a big believer because it's what we need. And they have a thing that about fracking that I'm opposed to it when they're actually opposed to it. These are really lies. I was even wondering we should go to court and do something about it because it's fraud. It's actually beyond election interference. It's fraud. And, she's not even campaigning today. She's taking a day off. You have 14 days, and it's the presidency, and she's taking 2 days off now. And I haven't taken a day off in 52 days. Can you imagine?
Mm-hmm. No.
That's a lot of fun. But, no, we have to get the job done. Because if we don't get this job done, our country is finished. She is a terrible person, and I never saw lying like this. You're right. Every single thing they have on abortion, and you know my stance on abortion with the states' rights, the vote of the people, and all that stuff, and with exceptions like Ronald Reagan, the 3 exceptions. And they don't put that. They say, like, hard line. These are just terrible people.
Mr. President, yesterday on this program, I said $10 million. I'll put up $10 million. Kamala Harris, you go to George Soros, get your $10 million. And I will bet you when Donald Trump becomes president, he does not support, he does not sign any federal national ban on abortion. What do you say? Because
you don't
she's
need
a liar.
To, because it's going back to the states. Yeah, well, they lie. Oh, they're just unbelievable. Yeah, they're actually saying that too. They are unbelievable. And no matter what I say, it's the exact opposite. Because what I say is what people want, and it's common sense. We call it the common sense party, right? And they're going now they're doing that because she's taking 15 different policies. One is hard to get out of. But every single thing, because she's a radical left Marxist or whatever she may be, but she's radical left like nobody has ever been. Well, she's beyond a Marxist, I think. Marxist is not great, but she's beyond. She's further left by a lot than Pocahontas or Bernie Sanders. Okay, and our president, we can't have a president like that. No. But also, she's not smart. She's not a smart person.
No,
our country would be destroyed if she becomes president. And, part of the reason I'm actually talking much tougher, because you don't want to talk this way about somebody who's the head of the party, etc. But we literally, if she became president, I don't think our country has a chance. It doesn't have a chance.
It's amazing.
It's a disaster.
It's amazing, President Trump. You point to the Supreme Court and all the federal courts, constitutionalists, people who have a record, a written record, or a record as a judge at a lower court of supporting the Constitution, interpreting the Constitution. You have complied with every court order. You've applied with every Supreme Court decision. Your backers, like me, have spent their life supporting the rule of law and the Constitution, and she has the gall to say that you oppose democracy, but people who support you, like me, somehow we oppose democracy, and she, who opposes virtually every aspect of the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, she's going to defend democracy. How do you respond to that?
Yeah. Well, just think of it. They're going after me like nobody's in terms of weaponization with the Justice Department, the FBI, local DAs that report to them, local attorney generals that report to them. I mean, can you imagine? That's never happened in this country before. These are bad people. These are really bad people. Almost, I would say, sick people. And we can't let this happen. So I'm doing. I'm working and I'm inspired to do it. She actually said, "Oh, Trump is getting tired." I'm not getting tired. She's getting tired. She's the one that's not. She's the one that's not working now. If I go and criticize something, they said the media goes, "Oh, he's played right into her hands." It's in other words, if you defend yourself, like in the debate, she said things that, maybe my crowds weren't as big as I was saying. I said, no, not only are they big, I turn away people for every rally. So I say that, and they go, he played right into her hand. Well, what are you supposed to do? Just let him say it. It is so terrible. And, the media is a big part of it, though, because they know what's right and they know what's wrong. And they are totally, they're really dishonest. When I came up with the word fake news, it was a great term, but it's really not tough enough. It's much worse than fake.
One of the things you champion is the civil rights issue of our time, school choice, and parental rights. That is, parents at school board meetings wanting to know how their kids are being taught, what they're being taught, what the books are in the library. You've led that fight. School choice, like no other president in American history. You've promoted that as a civil rights issue for everybody, but particularly in poorer areas for minority people, because they send these kids into awful schools. They have no choice. And yet the first person to endorse Kamala Harris was Randy Weingarten, of the American Federation of Teachers. So just like Obama sends his kids to private school, she does not want opportunity, education, the key issue for kids, education for communities that are poor, and she will not support school choice. What do you make of that?
Well, she's in the hands of the union, and the union is, and by the way, there's nobody more for teachers than I am. We're going to take great care of our teachers, better than they take care of them. But there's nobody, I understand, I've had great teachers, and I have teachers that weren't so great. And the ones that are great, they're very, very important to our country. So there's nobody that feels about teachers, or very few that I do. So, look, she's totally controlled by the teachers union. And it's very sad when you see it happening from an educational standpoint. Now, you take a look at where we're ranked as a nation. Out of the top 40 schools, we're 38, 39, or 40 every year, and yet we spend most per pupil. By far, we spend more than any other country. You have Norway, Denmark. You have all these countries. I hate to tell you this, but you also have China, which is usually in the top 5, as big as it is. You have China, but Norway, Denmark, Sweden, you have these countries, and per pupil, we spend much more, and we're ranked at number 40, 39, or 38.
You know what, Mr. President, when Merrick Garland released that outrageous memo, talk about fascism, in which he unleashes the FBI, the U.S. attorneys, the Department of Justice, and anything else they can throw at them over there, against parents who dare to go to school board meetings and exercise their First Amendment right. She never said that was a bad idea. They've never withdrawn that memo. Isn't that evidence of how she will rule?
Well, I think it is. And when you look at the FBI and what they're doing to parents, they've taken away parental rights. When you get up, like when I get up before an audience and I start speaking, I will guard your parental rights. I'm saying, I can't believe I actually have to say this. Who would think that the parents don't have control over their child, or as a group that they don't have control over the children that they love? And they literally have taken that right away from people. And, as far as if you're a Catholic, how can you vote for Kamala? Mm-hmm. Because what they've done to Catholics are unbelievable. Mm-hmm. You happen to not be Catholic. What they've done to Catholics is unbelievable. Someday, some Catholics are going to have to explain what have they. I mean, they're being persecuted, actually. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of strange things going on. We're not so far away from being a country that's a very evil place. We're not going to let it happen.
They're throwing people, grandparents, mothers, in prison who dared to exercise their First Amendment right in front of abortion clinics. Whatever you think about abortion.
Yep.
I mean, you have the right. And meanwhile, you have anti-Semitism throughout this country. They haven't lifted a finger. Look, you're one of the heroes of fighting anti-Semitism. You signed an executive order to protect Jewish students in colleges and universities. Obama didn't do that. Clinton didn't do that. Biden didn't do that.
That's right.
You did that. And you and Netanyahu are the most popular politicians in the state of Israel because you brought peace to the Middle East and they blew up the Middle East. The people in this country, the people in Israel, they don't want Kamala Harris anywhere near the White House, do they?
No. They don't want her, and nobody else does either, and I don't think the people want her either. So we've had a lot of results coming in, and the results look like at the upper side and beyond of what we were hoping for. So who knows? And frankly, I don't know. You could cut it if you like, Mark, but they cheat, and what they do is they are just so bad, but they cheat on elections. What they do with the borders is unbelievable. Think of it. You need borders and you need good elections, right? We don't have borders. Our borders, I built hundreds of miles of border wall. We had the best records, the best numbers in the history of our country. And then you see the famous chart. But from that chart, from the day I left, it looked like a rocket ship, how it went up. Mm-hmm. And now it's just terrible. And remember, they fly people in. So, they were saying, well, we're going to, they were getting decimated by the polls. So they said, all right, good, we'll do that. They must want open borders, but they said, all right, we'll do it. And they toughened it up a little bit so it looks a little bit better. But they forgot to tell people that they're flying people into the country. They're sending these big jumbo jets, and they're taking thousands of people into our country by jet. That doesn't play well.
There's not another country on the face of the earth that does anything like this because they're not suicidal. And you know, Mr. President, you don't get enough credit. You're the only president that I'm aware of, period, who's ever brought Arab countries and the state of Israel together. Peace plans, diplomatic plans, the Abraham Accords. You had Saudi Arabia was going to be next. Then this administration comes in and they blow up the entire Middle East. They fund Iran. Yeah. They're leaking Israel's military plans. What do you make of all this?
Well, they're doing it, and they're doing things that nobody thought was possible to do. They are allowing drugs to come in freely. They're allowing people to come in freely. They're allowing murderers to come in freely. So you have 13,099. Border Patrol released these numbers, and they've never released these numbers. In other words, they were never specific like this. They never did this before, but they feel they're in trouble. You know, the Border Patrol endorsed me strongly a few days ago, strongly. But interestingly, when they endorsed me, they also said she's the worst president they've ever seen, worst vice president / president administration that they've ever seen. They've never, and it's not easy for them to say that. They're the Border Patrol. They work inside of government. And what they said about her, and I just hope that people remember that when they vote, Mark. I just hope they remember it. We have to get them out. We can't play too cute either. I'm saying things that normally I wouldn't say in terms of the level of, the level of strength. I would not say some of the things. Number one, she's not a smart person at all. I mean, at all. And we've had 4 years of a person who was not smart, and he had, in addition to that, he had other problems. We've had 4 years. The country is going to break. We can't take another 4 years like the 4 years we just had.
More, lots more, with President Trump when we return.
Mark Levin.
The upcoming election isn't just about choosing leaders. It's about bracing for the economic fallout that could follow. You know, history shows that post-election periods can bring economic turmoil. But this time, with our national debt skyrocketing and global tensions rising, we could be facing unprecedented risks. We could see runaway inflation or even a currency crisis. That's why I encourage people to diversify and look at gold as a financial safety net. Gold has been said to be a reliable wealth shield for thousands of years through some of the worst economic storms. And for my gold investments, I trust Advantage Gold. They're who I buy from exclusively, and I recommend them to anyone serious about helping to protect their wealth. You can call them right now at 800-900-8000, 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit to see how you can get started with gold. You can even qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call them now. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. You'll be happy you did. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional. The Democrats and their media have succeeded in making abortion a political issue. Despite the fact that the evidence is out there, I've talked about it repeatedly, by a pro-abortion research organization, that there have been more abortions subsequent to the Dobbs decision than during Roe v. Wade. Despite the fact that the Democrats, their candidates, and Kamala Harris reject Roe v. Wade, and they want the most radical abortion law on the face of the planet. That is abortion right to the end when the baby's in the birth canal. And they also do oppose saving the life of a baby during a botched abortion because they had the opportunity to vote and require the saving of the life of a baby, and they all but one Democrat in the Senate voted against it. When we return, the rest of my interview with Donald Trump. Folks, we may be standing on the precipice of a post-election economic meltdown. Any election can send shockwaves through our financial system, but this time, the stakes could be higher than ever. Reckless spending, mounting debt, misguided policies has set the stage for potential economic disaster. We can see rapid inflation or even attempts to undermine our currency. That's why I've always relied on diversification and gold for protection. It's been said to be a timeless safeguard against economic chaos, and in these uncertain times, it's more crucial than ever. ever. When it comes to gold, I trust Advantage Gold exclusively. They're one of the top gold companies in America, and they're who I turn to for my own investments. Call 800-900-8000 right now for a free gold investment kit to see how gold can help protect you from post-election chaos. You might even qualify for $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional. President Trump talks about fair elections. Let me ask you a question, then we'll get right back to him. The Department of Justice under Harris and Biden are suing Glenn Youngkin in Virginia, and they're suing Alabama to force them to keep non-citizens on the voting list so they can vote. It's the first time in American history. Is that not corrupt? Voter identification. Blue states are eliminating it. In fact, the Democrats had an opportunity to vote on a bill that the Republicans put forward in Congress to require voter identification in federal elections. In the House of Representatives, all but 5 Democrats voted against it, and the bill was killed in the Senate by Schumer. Voter identification. Non-citizens voting, opposed to voter identification. Then the border's wide open. 20 million illegal aliens are coming in. They haven't vetted them. So if you don't have voter identification and you're allowing non-citizens to vote, how is that not corrupt? How is not fraudulent? And then you sue, you go into court after the fact, you say this is corrupt. How do you prove it? How do you prove a negative? So this is really corrupt. It's really outrageous. Then, of course, they say, well, you guys don't accept an election. Really? 2000? 2004, 2016, they didn't accept any of those elections. They don't accept gubernatorial elections in Georgia. We can go down the list. But their media, they're corrupt. Pravda, Al Jazeera, American media, they're in their back pocket. Here's more of my interview, the second half of my interview today with President Donald Trump. Go. Now, you know, Mr. President, she flipped and flopped and flipped now on fracking in Pennsylvania. She was opposed to it. Then she said, no, I support it. And then one of her flacks let out the truth. No, she's going to oppose any new fracking. You look at Michigan, right. She's destroying the auto industry with this EV stuff. And you've made the point. Look, you want electric vehicles? Fine, but you can't impose that on people. But 85% of the material comes from communist China. You look at Arizona, overwhelmed with illegal immigrants like the rest of the country, and now she's tougher on immigration than you've ever been. I feel you have her on the run because you have an affirmative, substantive, consistent policy, and she's flailing around trying to be all things to all people.
Well, you know, I've been consistent for years. People see old clips of me from 25 years ago on Oprah's show. Oprah used to be a friend of mine until I ran for politics, which is fine. But they see old clips. They say, this is the most consistent guy. I said, they're ripping our car industry. You know, they've taken 60% of our car industry over the course of a lot of years. 60%. We're bringing it all back, Mark, through tariffs, smart tariffs. You know, the most beautiful word is tariffs. We can make our country so rich, and other countries impose tariffs on us. That's the amazing thing. We get tariffs imposed on us, and when we want to do it, we have certain people that don't want to do it. I've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. No president has ever taken in 10 cents. And you know what? China respected us, and now China laughs at us. Remember when the initial transition, when they went to Alaska and they had a meeting and they started lecturing us about human rights and everything else? And we had our guys sitting there listening. Now it's terrible. But today is so big because they've given the Israeli war plans against Iran. They've given, can you imagine? They have supposedly in great detail, but the Israeli war plans against Iran, all different methods, probably won't change, but all different approaches they've given them. And Blinken or somebody flew over there to talk to them because, you know, I guess you don't want to tell them that over the phone. But at this point, what difference does it make? So they've gotten the plans. Can you imagine your allies, even other allies, they see this, you know, who wants to do business with with them. So it's a terrible situation.
No, it would be like
incredible.
Franklin Roosevelt giving plans to Hitler about Churchill and Britain. That's how ridiculous.
Yep,
that's how
right.
outrageous
That's right.
this is. Mr.
But you got to
President,
find out the person that did it. You got to find out the person that did it.
They probably won't find out till after the election. When you're president, you'll find out. I can guarantee that. Because you believe in justice.
Oh, yeah, we're going to find out. Yep, we're going to find out.
What do you want to tell? We have a
can always
huge
find
audience.
out. If you want to do
Yes.
so, if you want to find the leakers, you can always find the leakers. You understand that.
It's not hard.
It's very easy.
Yeah.
No, to find the leakers is very easy. But we don't use methods anymore where you can do that. We give the criminals such latitude, we're not allowed to find them. But you want to find a leaker, you can always. I thought the leak from the Supreme Court was just a shame. And I think that's something that also should be found out. It can all be found out very easily.
You brought up elections, and I want to underscore what you're saying here. The Department of Justice is suing Virginia and Alabama to prevent them from literally taking non-citizens off their voter rolls. The Department of Justice doesn't believe there should be voter identification. The Democrat Party, other than 5 Democrats, opposed a bill in the House of Representatives requiring voter identification. The border's wide open. 20 million illegals. I mean, what are we supposed to make of this? 20 million illegals, no voter ID, non-citizens should be able to vote. There's only one party that's pushing this agenda. Are we supposed to be so stupid to think that they're doing this for good government?
Yeah, that's right. It's Mark, it's not even some of the things that you and I have talked about over the years, watching this group of people destroy our country. It's not even believable. Men playing in women's sports. Okay.
Unbelievable.
I've never had, I said it today, we had a big news conference while Kamala is sleeping. She's sleeping. She's sleeping. Can you believe it?
That's a good thing.
She's running for president and she's in sleeping. Oh boy. But think of it. Has anybody ever come up to you and say, listen, I demand that we hear like 2 parts of every story, right? Has anybody ever said we want to see men playing in women's sports? I've never had anybody come up and say,
no,
we really have to let women play. And you have to do me a favor, President. You have to work it out so that men can play in women's sports. Nobody's ever mentioned this to me.
No.
And yet it's like this big deal for them. I think they want to destroy the country, basically, because there's no other reason. Well, the other reason is voting. They want to put them in the voter rolls, I guess.
Plus, it happens to violate Title IX of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. But who's counting? Mr. President, we only have a few seconds left. Early voting is crucial. It's crucial. It's crucial. What do you want to tell Americans about early voting now?
Get out and vote for you. But, Mark, you're right. Get out and vote. But if you didn't do it, you got to vote on by the 5th. You have to vote on the 5th of November. I do have to give them that little attitude. Republicans tended to vote. They seem to be voting early right now. And the numbers are so far great. The polls are good. I guess we're 5 up. It was just announced we're 5 up in Georgia. And we're doing great in North Carolina. Can you imagine in North Carolina they had their highest vote ever, and the place was just decimated by the storm.
Unbelievable.
They have to get out. Ideally, get out early, but get out. I've been sort of very strong on that. Just make sure you get out. And we have to watch very carefully that this is going to be a fair election because they've been so bad. They've been so bad, so disgraceful. So we need borders and we need good elections. And let's see how this all turns out, Mark. But hopefully it's going to be very good.
It's always a great pleasure. And what's funny, America? He and I eat the same thing. Crap. But I like crap. I can't help it, Mr. President. I like a well-done steak with ketchup and a Diet Coke. You do. I like McDonald's. You do. So that's the way it is. You look very healthy compared to me, I'll tell you that.
Well, we had a big McDonald's day the other day. That I can tell you. That turned out to be a big monster of a story. That was a strange story. That was a big monster. That was sort of supposed to be a little throwaway, and it ended up being a big deal. But it was a lot of fun, Mark. And
well, listen,
I have
Mr.
to tell you, Mark, you're an amazing guy, and just keep it going.
Oh,
boy, we need you. We need you.
We need you. Please be safe as you can, and God bless you and your family, and take care of yourself.
Thank you, Ray. It's exciting times because we have a great future planned, and we have to get this done. We have to get this election. This is the most important election. I really believe it. I know you do. The most important election we've ever had. So,
and by the way,
thank you,
media,
Mark, very much.
I do love this man, and I want him to win. So if you want to say, oh, what an interview, screw yourselves. Mr. President, thank you. Take care of yourself.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you.
All right. God bless. You know, President Trump, it's just the way it is, whether it's in private with our families or those interviews. We have a special chemistry, he and I. We just do. And I try not to bother him and so forth, but the audience is so massive on this show, reaches every corner of the country. In fact, it reaches throughout the world with the podcast and the streamlining and the apps and all the rest. God knows how many listeners we actually have. They're incapable of keeping really good numbers. We're also on satellite. He wanted to come on, and I very much want to have him come on. Now, you'll notice I do interviews a little differently. I'm not looking for gotcha moments. I'm not going to take this interview with gotcha moments and circulate it so I can draw attention to myself or my radio show. We're going to take this entire interview and we're going to post it on social media because I thought he did a fantastic job. And all those people said, well, he's going to outlaw abortion. Well, he's going to round up people with the military. Well, it's all lies. All disgusting lies. Here's the Democrat media montage, just about a minute of it. Hat tip, Fox News, cut 10, go.
I know it's a loaded word, but when you say you're going to be dictator on day one, I mean, look up the definition of fascism, the characteristics of a dictator, an authoritarian. I mean, General Milley said it himself, but Trump, again, reinforced it himself. So I don't think...
Chris, this is the lowlife from California, Newsom. Talk about a dictator, what he did during the pandemic. That's a dictator. He's a fascist, in my view. Go ahead.
Stating.
This is stuff from the 1930s. This is Hitler stuff.
Yes, he is.
So that's Representative Madeline Dean, who obviously has never visited concentration camps. She's never watched a black and white film of what happened at these concentration camps. And these Democrats like Madeline Dean, who's a lowlife, calling the man who supports the state of Israel, the man who's done more to fight anti-Semitism than any damn Democrat in this country. He's the 1930s and he's Democrat. And she's backing Harris, who was backed by every Islamist Jew hater in the country. Go ahead.
Authoritarian figure.
General Mark Milley was quoted saying Donald Trump is fascist to the
General
core.
Mark Milley is a buffoon, and what he did in Afghanistan is a disgrace. They should be removing stars from his shoulders. He shouldn't be a general. No. What he did was disgusting to our military, to our history, to those young men and women who died there. So we're going to listen to him. This is who the Democrats depend on. Go ahead.
Harris to support this language publicly.
I mean, it's the truth. It's what people believe. And I think that she wants the American people to really take a hard look.
No, it's not the truth. You're a liar. She's a liar. Donald Trump's not a fascist. Donald Trump's not a dictator. He was there for 4 years. He followed the Constitution. He followed the law. He followed every court ruling. That's right. He offered the military to Nancy Pelosi, who lies through her 3 teeth and says he didn't. But why witnesses, the independent, the Inspector General of the Defense Department, all contemporary information says he absolutely did offer the National Guard. They're the ones who are rioting in the streets, attacking the cops in 2020. They're the ones who undermine the military left and right. They're the ones who don't give a damn about crime in the streets. They are looking in the mirror and they're projecting and they're pointing, but they should be pointing at themselves. When you point a finger at somebody else, you're pointing 3 fingers at yourself, and that's them. Go ahead.
She is running against and who could be the president and in charge of the nuclear codes.
Yeah, I mean, he's a fearful
president
guy.
In charge of the nuclear codes. I'm telling you, America, you fall for this crap. You fall for this crap. He was president in charge of the nuclear codes. They had a man who was demented for 4 years and longer. They lied to you. They've installed, like fascists. Kamala Harris as their nominee didn't receive a single vote up to this day. And then they talk about democracy and the Third Reich and fascism and all the rest. It's sickening. Third Reich. They're the ones who embrace Tlaib and Omar and AOC. They're the ones who embrace Bernie Sanders. They're the ones who embrace the Dearbornistan mayor and his ilk. They're the ones who embrace these imams. They're the ones who defend the river to the sea crowd in our universities, these faculty members. They're the ones who use Hamas's numbers. They're the ones who undermine Netanyahu and the people of Israel. when they're fighting for their survival. We know what the Democrat Party is. Go ahead.
Like, he's a very animalistic human being. I think this
An animalistic human being coming from Scarborough? Boy, what the hell's happened to you, pal? You're a mess. Go ahead.
Don't risk it with this. This is dangerous talk. This is the
Tim
talk
Walz,
of dictators.
Who's Imam Buddy, backed October 7 Hamas. And what did he get in return? $125,002 state grants from this clown. This clown who allowed the cops to be attacked. The mayor asked him to come into Minneapolis. Let a precinct burn. Let his city burn. Let people get brutalized. This jerk. Walz. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
The upcoming election isn't just about choosing leaders. It's about bracing for the economic fallout that could follow. You know, history shows that post-election periods can bring economic turmoil. But this time, with our national debt skyrocketing and global tensions rising, we could be facing unprecedented risks. We could see runaway inflation or even a currency crisis. That's why I encourage people to diversify and look at gold as a financial safety net. Gold has been said to be a reliable wealth shield for thousands of years through some of the worst economic storms. And for my gold investments, I trust Advantage Gold. They're who I buy from exclusively, and I recommend them to anyone serious about helping to protect their wealth. You can call them right now at 800-900-8000, 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit to see how you can get started with gold. You can even qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call them now. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. You'll be happy you did. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional. You know, this Harris, Cheney, Obama, and Biden, you know what this is? This is a political hit squad, ladies and gentlemen. It's a political hit squad, the likes of which we've never seen in this country before. This president, 2 assassination attempts. The Iranians are trying to assassinate him. He's under a grave threat scenario. And I want you to listen to what Biden said in New Hampshire today. You have to turn up the volume, but I want you to listen to this. Today, Biden, go.
He is talking about doing away with the entire Department of Education. He's talking, he means it. This is not a joke. This is a guy who also wants to replace every civil servant. Every single one.
Such pathetic,
thinks he has a right under the Supreme Court ruling on immunity to be able, if need be, if it was the case, to actually physically eliminate, shoot, kill someone who he believes to be a threat to him.
Stop. So Trump thinks the Supreme Court authorized him, allows him to kill somebody who he considers a threat to him? And ladies and gentlemen, they take no responsibility for these threats, these violent threats against Donald Trump. I mean, there have been so many statements like this from him, his party leaders, the media. You couldn't even write a book 10,000 pages long to catalog them. Go ahead.
So I know this sounds bizarre. It sounds like if I said this 5 years ago, you'd lock me up. We got to lock him up. Politically lock him up.
Politically lock. He had a second thought. Got to lock him up. He said he can kill people. This is where they are. This is where this party is. This loathsome bunch of lowlives. All right, we've got a ton more. That was a quick first hour. 2 more to go. Here we go. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. The FBI is investigating classified documents leak of U.S. intelligence on Israel planned strike on Iran. Now, what they're not telling you, these are two documents. And in these documents, most of the information is information that our spy agencies used, our satellites used, including tapping into discussions that the Israeli military and Israeli political leaders have had by our government to try and determine what Israel's going to do to Iran. Now, I'm the only one, damn it, behind this microphone in front of a camera who has said over and over and over again that this administration, its ties to Iran, are treasonous. From Robert Malley, who had to be yanked, who's under investigation for potential violation of classified information. He had a spy ring under him that was communicating with the foreign minister of Iran. The providing of $200 billion directly and indirectly to Iran to build up its military, and now demands that Israel not hit their nuclear sites and their oil sites. I've never seen a government like ours and a regime like ours, Biden and Harris and Blinken and Sullivan, who are special pleaders for an enemy that wants nuclear-tipped intercontinental ballistic missiles that can hit our cities, as it aligns itself with China, Russia, and North Korea. And this is a regime that slaughters its own people. This is a regime that's slaughtering people in Yemen and Iraq, that's slaughtering people in Syria, Lebanon. It's a hideous genocidal regime. And the little country of Israel, and really the prime minister of Israel, standing up to them. And so they're getting ready to attack. And what happens? The Iranian rats, the Iranian spies, the Iranian collaborators in this administration, it's not enough to say the government, in this administration, leaked the information to Islamo-Nazi, that is an Iranian front organization, handed all the information not only to Iran, but the entire world. This was top secret U.S. intelligence information shared with this organization. So the FBI, I read from Fox, is investigating the leak of classified documents that included top secret U.S. intel on Israel's planned attack on Iran. The FBI is investigating the alleged leak of classified documents, working closely with our partners in the Defense Department, Defense Intelligence Community, the Bureau said. And this is an ongoing investigation. We have no further comment. No further comment. This is a massive scandal. This administration provided information to the enemy in order to stop our ally from defending itself. And this isn't the first time. They withheld intelligence information when Israel decided to go into Lebanon. They withheld intelligence information when Israel decided to go into Rafah. They're literally withholding arms. Arms that Congress already proved they're unconstitutionally withholding arms from Israel. White House National Security Council spokesman, this guy John Kirby, he's the Tokyo Rose in pants, told reporters he did not have information on whether the unauthorized release was a result of a hack or an employee leak. It's a leak. It's a leak. Kirby said he did not have any indication that additional classified documents would find their way into public domain. He has no idea. These Iranian sympathizers were appointed by the Biden regime. They are populated like cockroaches within the State Department and the Defense Department, and including the National Security Council. They're there. We know many of their names. We don't know that they leaked it, but we know they exist. The documents were attributed to the U.S. Geospatial Intelligence Agency and National Security Agency. Now, what does that mean? Geospatial Intelligence Agency. Satellites. National Security Agency, what does that mean? Intercepting communications. They were monitoring the movement of Israeli military personnel and equipment and other information. They were tapping into their phones of our ally. Of our ally. While Harris is running around playing both sides. You know, there's good and there's evil. There's the murderous Islamists and there are the Jews who are the victims. But for Harris, she talks out of both sides of her mouth. And by the way, illiterately, but nonetheless. Nonetheless. Shocking. The documents were shareable with Five Eyes, which are the U.S., Great Britain, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. So they took all this information that they had gathered by spying on our ally Israel. They distributed it to Great Britain, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia, and then it was leaked to the enemy. We've never seen anything like this. I've told you before. This administration makes Aldra Hiss, that affair, look like a joke. We have hundreds of Aldra Hiss situations going on in this administration, America. And Kamala Harris, you know what she said about it, Mr. Producer? Nothing. Nothing. She's not working today. Isn't that nice? She's not working today. Woman wants to be president. She's running for president. She takes the day off. She takes Tuesday. 2 weeks away from that off. Yeah, just like she was taking off the days and partying with her friends before these grave hurricanes slammed into our population. Oh, yeah. Taking the day off. Just like she took her whole damn vice presidency off. The border. And by the way, it's nice. It's nice that the Free Press and others are now reporting on sexual slavery taking place on the southern border. Because we've been talking about it on this program for years. I've been talking about it on The Blaze for years. I've been talking about it on TV for years. I'll give you a little taste of it. I can't play all of it. We went back, and we didn't go back far. January this year, Life, Liberty, and Levin. And it's funny how my colleagues didn't pick up on it. Why? Why? Cut 3, go. Matters that affect the country, issues that will affect the election. Slavery. Well, Mark, how's slavery going to affect the election? I'm not talking about 160 years ago. I want you to think about this. Enough of the candy coating. Enough of the propaganda by the media and the Democrats. Enough of pointing fingers at comprehensive immigration reform and we need more money. Please listen to me. There are at least 4 places on the face of the earth where slavery is practiced openly and supported. The continent of Africa, the Middle East region, Southeast Asia, and America. And you haven't heard a damn thing about it from the Democrats, Biden on down. You haven't heard a damn thing about it from the New York Times, Joy Reid, or the other bigots. It's being practiced in the United States on our southern border as a result of the Biden administration policies. You see, the Democrat Party defended and fought a war on behalf of slavery 160 years ago. Today, Democrat Party policies, led by Joe Biden and Democrats in the Congress and their media supporters, are promoting slavery on the southern border. They don't even talk about it. They don't send the reporters down there to do specials on it. Where's Frontline on PBS? Nowhere. Where are the women of The View and their makeup artists and their hairdo artists? How come they don't go down there and look at the slavery that's taking place? The entire left either covers it up, censors it, or supports it. That's the conclusion you have to reach. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about women and children who are sold into sex slavery. It's slavery. All right, I went on in that monologue for about 15 minutes. So I want to congratulate, better late than never, some of the media outlets that have finally figured this out, finally gone down there, interviewed people, and seen what's going on since, even on my Blaze show, we did a show on this like 6-7 years ago. It's something that has been very upsetting and concerning to me and my family, and we talk about it all the time. Kamala Harris hasn't talked about it once, not damn once. Once. And neither has Biden. When we come back, there is a massive scandal. Massive, that I'm sure you haven't heard about here in the United States of America. The International Criminal Court, its rogue prosecutor, a sex scandal, and now we know. Now we know why they unleashed their attack on Benjamin Netanyahu and his defense secretary, and why they suddenly issued criminal charges against him in order to cover up a massive sex scandal. You're not going to believe this. Sex scandal. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
The big wireless carriers want to limit you to two choices when it comes to data, unlimited or unlimited. And guess what? Both are stupidly expensive. So folks, stop overpaying for data you're never going to use. That's like paying for a pot of coffee when you only need a cup, or filling your entire truck bed full of gas when you only need a tank. With Pure Talk, my cell phone company, you get to choose how much data you actually want. Listen to this. For just $25 a month, get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, which is more than enough, plus mobile hotspot. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless and get America's best 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is easy. There's no contract. There's no activation fees. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month when you sign up with Pure Talk. Carolyn Glick is the senior contributing editor at the Jewish News Service, JNS, host of her own podcast, The Carolyn Glick Show. Dear friend of mine and my family, smart as hell, really has her finger on the pulse of our country and Israel. And before I bring her on, just to set the stage here, there's a big piece in the Daily Mail, and this is a big deal. This is how these radical international organizations work. The British chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court has been accused of misconduct and harassment involving a female colleague, the Daily Mail reports. Karim Khan, a barrister tasked with bringing war criminals to justice, triggered outrage in May when he issued arrest warrants to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Gallant. The shock move was condemned by the United States, who was condemned at the time by the Prime Minister of the UK. But they write, our investigation can reveal that in the fortnight before his bombshell announcement, Mr. Khan faced internal scrutiny at the International Criminal Court. Sources claim a female official at the court made claims about his conduct to a colleague who in turn informed senior managers. Carolyn Glick, these were sexual harassment allegations that were taking place. Tell us about this, and tell the nation of America why it's important.
So thanks so much for having me on your program. It's always great to be on with you, Mark. So, yes, on May 3rd, an employee at the International Criminal Court told the chief prosecutor, Karim Khan, that one of his employees was accusing him of sexual harassment. And he was very worried about it. There's an account on X called ICC_leaks, and they have a lot more information beyond what the Daily Mirror report said. And what you see in those leaks is that he was terrified. He said, oh no, this is going to destroy my career if this gets out. And his brother, by the way, Imran Khan, a former member of parliament from the Tories, just got out of jail after serving half of his sentence of 18 months for child molestation, for molesting a 15-year-old boy recently. And here's the brother, Karim, who thinks he's going to be the UN Secretary General one day, says, wait a minute, my career is about to be destroyed. Then, as it said in the Daily Mirror, about 2 weeks later, he shocked everybody by announcing that he wasn't going to carry out an investigation. He was just going to issue these arrest warrants against Netanyahu and Gallant.
Let me slow down just a minute, just to catch up the American people. He had announced that, look, Israel's a democracy. It has a real Supreme Court, as pathetic as it is. But nonetheless, so I'm going to come to Israel. I'm going to do a site visit. This is what I kind of do before I do anything. And you're saying he suddenly cut that short and then issues these arrest warrants against Netanyahu, right, and Gallant.
He didn't cut it short. He never came here. He was supposed to arrive in Israel to carry out some investigation or fact-finding mission, even though he doesn't have any jurisdiction because Israel isn't even a member of the International Criminal Court. But put that aside. He was supposed to come here. He had been talking to U.S. senators saying, yes, I'm going to check. It's a problem because Israel does have an independent prosecution and an independent judiciary. So under the rules, basically, I'm not supposed to be the first court to look at anything. Israel is, because it has an independent court system. But, I'll go there and I'll see. So he was supposed to arrive here on May 20th. And then instead, he suddenly announced that he was canceling his trip. And later the same day that he was supposed to come to Israel, he announced that he was issuing these arrest warrants for war crimes against Prime Minister Netanyahu and Defense Minister Gallant, and of course 3 senior Hamas terrorists who in the meantime have all been eliminated. But to try to put together some sort of a moral equivalence between these mass murdering terrorists in Hamas and the democratically elected Prime Minister of Israel and the Defense Minister. So he puts out this information after he suspended a non-existent investigation. He just canceled it with no prior warning, and he had not had acknowledged to these U.S. senators that he had a really problematic case against them and that he was going to have to really think about it. So what happened? That he suddenly decided that, I better go after Netanyahu, the bête noire of all of the who's who in polite progressive society in the UN and in the West.
And I would take it a step further as I've been studying this, and you did an excellent job, by the way, and which is this. So they were going to investigate him, the International Criminal Court. They have a HR department and all the rest of it. They have a very bad environment, according to what I've read, of sexual harassment there. But all of a sudden, they killed the investigation. After he brought these charges against Netanyahu and Gallant, the investigation of him died. That is, they never pursued it. The woman, they said, well, on the one hand, she doesn't actually, can't confirm it happened. She won't come forward, but she did come forward. So my question to you is this. Was this some kind of quid pro quo? Because it sure as hell smells like it to me.
No, I think it reeks of it. I think it reeks of it because she did come forward. She came forward twice, and in fact, there's an add-on report on that ICC leaks X report that said that she filed a complaint with the governing organization of the ICC because she saw that the HR department, such as it is, at the ICC was not going to be looking into it. And so 5 months have passed, and indeed they didn't investigate anything related to her charges. And by the way, before she came forward and said that he had sexually harassed her both physically and psychologically, she heard from a number of other members of the ICC and a number of other employees that they too had been sexually harassed by Khan. So this is something that goes around there. And from my sources, I found out that actually when Khan was told initially on May 3rd that this woman had come forward, his initial response when he found out that somebody in his employ was accusing him of sexual harassment, he asked whether it was a male or a female. And then he asked whether there was any videotape. I mean, because this guy, his brother just got out of jail. This is not, what you might consider to be the model of a married father of two, which is what he is. And
we have to take a hard break. We're here with Carolyn Glick, senior contributing editor, one of our famous news sources, our most important news sources, Jewish News Service. I want to pursue this with you. So should the investigation really be on the other foot, that is, of this prosecutor and what happened? We'll be right back. The big wireless carriers want to limit you to two choices when it comes to data, unlimited or unlimited. And guess what? Both are stupidly expensive. So folks, stop overpaying for data you're never going to use. That's like paying for a pot of coffee when you only need a cup, or filling your entire truck bed full of gas when you only need a tank. With Pure Talk, my cell phone company, you get to choose how much data you actually want. Listen to this. For just $25 a month, get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, which is more than enough, plus mobile hotspot. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless and get America's best 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is easy. There's no contract. There's no activation fees. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month when you sign up with Pure Talk.
Mark Levin, radio's principled patriot. Call in now at 877-381-3811.
So let me do Mark Levin, Philadelphia speak. We're here with our dear friend Carolyn Glick, senior contributing editor at JNS, dear friend, and one of the really important people in the media in Israel and in the United States. So we have this sleazeball prosecutor who's harassing this woman. And he's scared to death that it'll become public because he wants to be UN secretary like the other sleazeball currently is UN secretary. And he's concerned, and then he wants to know, well, does it just involve her or other women and guys? And is there any video? Oh, this guy's top shelf. And then, as Carolyn explains to us, he was supposed to have a short trip to Israel, go through the motions, Israel democracy, they actually have an independent judiciary, they have a legal system, unlike every country that surrounds it. Because, you go through that process, as Carolyn pointed out, because the first resort is to the legal system within a democracy. So what does he do? Well, he cuts the throat from that, and then he just goes out and he issues basically criminal warrants against the elected prime minister of Israel, against the defense secretary, who are defending their country. And then suddenly, these allegations disappear. Suddenly, HR and the International Criminal Court take a pillow and smother the whole damn thing. And so I smell a quid pro quo. Carolyn smells a quid pro quo. So my question to you is, shouldn't there be some kind of stay of what's taking place here? An actual investigation of what happened here into this prosecutor, into the International Criminal Court, and the whole damn thing?
Of course there should be. Of course there should be. And instead, this week, and the other thing is that he makes this announcement on May 20th that he's issuing these international arrest warrants against the prime minister and the defense minister, but he doesn't even have the power to do that because those arrest warrants can only be issued by a 3-judge panel. Not that I hold much stock in the ICC judges, but all the same, he's not the one that issues the subpoenas under his own procedure. Mm-hmm. It's the judges of the ICC, and they're supposed to meet this week to issue the arrest warrants against Prime Minister Netanyahu. And I mean, it just, so everything that he did was against standard procedure in actual criminal law, but also against the ICC's own procedures. And he did it, and as a result, as you see, or at the same time, miraculously, that this happened, nobody heard about the charges. And then, he's been saying all along that, he's being hounded, he's being hunted, he's being prosecuted, he's being persecuted by unnamed sources, which The Guardian attributes to being the Mossad and Israel, that Israel is behind all of these allegations. But here's the thing, can you imagine if Israel had known that this was all going on, that we would have kept it a secret? I mean, this guy is so compromised, and here he is making daring to cast these kinds of allegations against the leadership of this country that's fighting in a war for its national survival against enemies that literally want to carry out October 7th against every single Jew in Israel and around the world. And, why wouldn't we make these allegations public if we knew? And the fact that they've been hidden for 5 months until they finally came out in this Daily Mirror story, apparently because this woman and her associates at the ICC are so fed up with the lack of due process, with the lack of justice for his victim. He's blaming Israel for it because, again, how do you get out from under all of these allegations in the vaunted world of fancy-pants anti-Semites that he runs in? It's by blaming the Jews. And what better Jew to blame than the most hated Jew on the face of the planet, Prime Minister Netanyahu, who keeps standing up to all of these people and insisting on defending the country.
This guy's a British lawyer. It's a British newspaper. And, of course, Mossad did it. Now, my attitude about this is there needs to be an investigation. At least the Committee of Congress needs to look into this. They need to look into this, I mean, after the election, because nobody's going to do anything before. But it's my understanding that this International Criminal Court, and you know what, that's actually a very good name, because it is, in many respects, itself guilty of criminal conduct, such as here, that they're going to do something in the next 24, 48 hours. Is that when they're going to formally issue these charges?
That's when they're expected to sit down and have a hearing about it. Yes, they're expected to do it this week. And it's also a criminal court because what they're doing towards Israel, against Israel, is criminal. Who ever heard of such a thing? You know, it's so funny. It's like, you know, they issue these arrest warrants or announce that he wants to issue these arrest warrants against Prime Minister Netanyahu, Defense Minister Gallant, and Hamas arch-terrorists Yahya Sinwar, Mohammed Def, and Ismail Haniyeh, who have all been eliminated. They are all mass murderers. So it's basically like saying, okay, well, we're gonna issue arrest warrants against, you know, FDR and General Eisenhower. Oh, and also against you know, Hitler and Goering and Goebbels. Well, they all died in their Nazi bunker under Berlin, so we're just going to go after Ike and FDR now. You know, and I mean, that's basically where they are today, right? It was all a joke anyway. They never meant to go after any of these Hamasniks. They only said that they were going to do it so that they could pretend that there was some sort of a fairness, which of course is a perversion of justice, and it is criminal. Just as they're projecting Hamas's crimes on Israel with this fake case, you have this apparent alleged criminal who is the prosecutor himself, and he's getting a get-out-of-jail-free card by going after Israel's leader.
I want to remind Americans that Donald Trump rejected this court, warned this court, if it did anything to us, or for that matter, any of our allies, like the state of Israel, that we would punish this court. And I want to remind you folks in the audience, not so of Biden and Harris and Blinken. Although they condemned it, they didn't lift a finger to stop it, and they could have, because this prosecutor was appointed, this British, really a sex freak. You want to know the truth? Maybe there are videos out there. That's why there ought to be an investigation. Maybe this guy was blackmailed, clearly a quid pro quo. But the point is this. They didn't do a thing to stop this. That is Biden and Blinken and those guys and Harris. Instead, this is what they do. I've got to go. I want to thank you so much.
One short thing.
Yep, go ahead.
Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have blocked the progress of legislation in the Senate. It already passed the House to take Trump's executive order against the ICC that Biden canceled and passed it into law. So they're actively protecting the ICC from Congress by blocking this bill from going forward and getting passed in the Senate after it was already passed in the House of Representatives.
And by no standard of Western civilization is this a legitimate process. The guy issuing his own subpoenas, issuing his own criminal warrants, cutting short any type of investigation and all the rest of it, by no standard. And he's corrupt, and he's got stuff going on in his background. He sounds like a pervert to me, quite frankly. He asked about whether there were guys, also other gals in video. That's a tip-off. There needs to be an investigation of the International Criminal Court and this British prosecutor who also has a slime ball for a brother, as you pointed out, who served time in jail for also a sexual misconduct. Thanks so much, and you take care of yourself, my friend. All right. God bless you. It's very late in Israel. It's like 4:45 in the morning. So we, isn't it, Mr. Producer? Am I not adding this? No, it's not. It's like 2:42 in the morning. So that's very kind of her. Now, why is this important to America? Because this International Criminal Court can do it to our country, too. That's why. Now, Israel's not a member, so they have no authority. We're not a member either. And so they claim this power. This prosecutor claims this power. He can go after our soldiers. He can go after our generals. He can go after our people, too. As I always say, Israel is the canary in the coal mine. And it's always us. We're next. So this is a big deal. This is a big deal to Americans. Now, this election is so crucially important. I have numbers here now, Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, early voting, 1 million Democrats have voted and 580,000 Republicans in early voting. You know, these polls don't mean a damn thing. I was thinking about this today, Mr. Producer. Have we learned anything in the past 2 months from these polls? Oh, we're within the margin of error. Oh, it's 1 point ahead. What kind of media do we have here? And now we have the trajectory. We have the trajectory. Well, what the hell is this? 1 million Democrats have voted early in Pennsylvania and 580,000 Republicans? Now, there are more Republicans in Pennsylvania than 580,000, so they're not voting early. Certainly not enough of them. Well, what the hell's that all about? Now, in other states, it's looking a little better. But if Pennsylvania is, in fact, the Keystone State, which is its nickname, its official nickname, it's a keystone to this election, everybody says. Well, why are there only 580,000 Republicans voting early in Pennsylvania? What is that all about? Listen, I'm not going to be a Pollyanna like all these other hosts on TV and it looks good and we have this special poll guy. Maybe it's great. Maybe it's going to be a Reagan landslide. Great. But with 1 million Democrats voting early and 580,000 Republicans, we're sure betting a hell of a lot on November 5th. We have 2 damn weeks to get out and vote. I'm not celebrating this. I'm not celebrating it. I'm not a Pollyanna. I've been involved in politics my whole life, like few of the others with a microphone or a camera in their right nostril. I ran for office. I worked in Republican primaries. From a conservative perspective, I took on rhinos. We took on left-wing Democrats in Pennsylvania. We were the Reaganites, the Young Turks, who took on Gerald Ford, who took on all these people who said Reagan couldn't win when he won in 2 landslides in Pennsylvania. You don't win in landslides in Pennsylvania or anywhere else when you have 1 million Democrats who have voted early and 580,000 Republicans. Now, does that mean all the Democrats are voting for Harris? No. But it means a lot of them are. So I don't want us to get glum or dispirited. I want us to get off our asses and do something about this. My God. I told you the other night, my whole family voted early. We never voted early before, all of us. And by the way, that's nothing to celebrate, like, my God, like we charged the enemy when we won. No. My wife is on the phone constantly organizing, encouraging other people. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Believe it or not, I'm doing exactly the same thing. Other family members trying to get the votes out of Israel in order for Trump. And so in this family, this is what we're doing. We even call people we know. We ask them, can you call this one? Can you call that? They're very reluctant. I don't understand it. I really don't. So we're going to sit around the Thanksgiving table or Christmas or Hanukkah or whenever and moan and groan if we lose. Oh, the world's coming to an end, and it may be. And so the question will be, generations to come, well, what the hell did you do about it? I saw this number. Honestly, I got furious. Furious. 1 million Democrats have voted in Pennsylvania and 580,000 Republicans. Are you kidding me? With everything that's on the line? You believe this, Mr. Producer? I don't know what else to say. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
The big wireless carriers want to limit you to 2 choices when it comes to data, unlimited or unlimited. And guess what? Both are stupidly expensive. So folks, stop overpaying for data you're never going to use. That's like paying for a pot of coffee when you only need a cup, or filling your entire truck bed full of gas when you only need a tank. With Pure Talk, my cell phone company, you get to choose how much data you actually want. Listen to this. For just $25 a month, Get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, which is more than enough, plus mobile hotspot. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless and get America's best 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is easy. There's no contract. There's no activation fees. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month when you sign up with Pure Talk. Kamala Harris took the day off to prepare for an interview with NBC News. I have a couple clips I want to play for you because this woman is truly an imbecile. She is an idiot. And I don't mind anybody who is in broadcasting, who is in Hollywood, an ex-president. You want to come on here and debate me over this woman's intelligence? I am more than happy to do it. I mean, you thought Joe Biden was an idiot, which he is. She truly is an idiot. And she's a dangerous idiot because she's a radical left-wing ideologue who embraces the Islamists, who believes in open borders, who attacks our economic system. You know, I talk to a lot of people, white, black, in between, successful people. And they are proud of what they've done with their lives. They are proud of the success that they've made out of their lives, regardless of their backgrounds and how they made it in this country. And some of them are going to back her proudly because they don't want to be associated with Donald Trump, or their audience isn't going to like Donald Trump. What a bunch of cowards. Pathetic. They know what I know. They know what I see. They know what I hear. They're not stupid. They're gutless, but they're not stupid. These people who've made it in this country, they know what a disaster she is. But what we're finding now is people who are on the lowest rung of the ladder, who are basically fighting to work their way up, they see it too. And they're more likely to vote against her than these elitist, wealthy frauds who become successful because of everything she opposes. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mike Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. So Kamala Harris did an interview with NBC News. The questions are so damn predictable, and she's so moronic. Anybody's free to challenge me on this, to demonstrate to me what a genius she is. Please do. She just lies. She worked at McDonald's. Just show us any proof and so forth and so on. McDonald's doesn't have any information. She doesn't have any information. When you lie about little things, you lie about everything. You don't tolerate that from your kid or your grandkid, but you're going to tolerate it from a presidential candidate? She's back and forth and back again on fracking. Oh, yeah. It's absolutely amazing. Oh, there's my lovely wife. How are you, sweetheart?
Great, but I didn't do the timing very well.
It's okay. So you've been working very hard trying to get out the vote.
Absolutely.
And you voted early.
I voted early, day and night. I'm going to do try to do a town hall with some of our Hispanic friends.
You speak Spanish fluently.
I speak Spanish,
yeah.
And I will be accompanied by somebody else who also speaks Spanish.
You've been working with David,
yes,
our son,
working with
to try and get the vote out of Israel.
Out in Israel, where President Trump enjoys a 90+% approval rating.
You've been working with some of our friends to try and get them to use their contacts to get the vote out.
Absolutely, and I've been on the phone with pastors, so they understand.
You've called a number of the biggest pastors in the country. You've also been trying to rally pastors of single smaller churches in rural areas. I mean, you're working morning, noon, and night on this, and you're not an official of the RNC or the Trump campaign or political act. You're a citizen patriot.
That is correct, and not just in Virginia, and not just in Israel, Pennsylvania, and other battleground states as well.
You're not the only one in the family doing this. We have family members doing this. Every family member has voted early. What do you make of this? Pennsylvania, 1 million Democrats have voted and 580,000 Republicans. What the hell is that about?
Completely illogical.
All right, sweetie. Thank you. Kamala Harris, I want you to listen very carefully to this, because I've talked about their extremism on abortion. You know, I'm here in Virginia, and I'm watching this election with Hogan in Maryland. I'm not a big fan of his, but what they're doing to him is disgusting. It's nonstop abortion commercials where women come on and say, I don't trust him. A guy comes on, I have 2 daughters. I don't trust that guy. Abortion, abortion, abortion. That he's going to vote for a national ban on abortion. Hogan's not going to vote for anything like that. Everyone knows, but this is what they're doing. They're trying to scare the hell out of women, because women are the core to the Democrat Party, if the truth be told. Not all of you. You know what I mean. This is very important to understand. So I've explained here on Blaze and on Fox this issue of abortion. Apparently my fellow conservatives aren't paying attention because they're not repeating it. Their position on abortion is extreme. And they don't even want exceptions for people of conscience, whether they're doctors or whether they're hospitals. They insist that they be forced to perform abortions. We've never seen anything like this in our country, America. Never. So I want you to hear, she's asked this by NBC News, Hallie Jackson. Cut 19, go.
What concessions would be on the table? Religious exemptions, for example? Is that something that you would consider?
I don't think we should be making concessions when we're talking about a fundamental freedom to make decisions about your own body.
Now stop it. You understand this? We've done this throughout our history. And the history since Roe v. Wade, there have always been, quote-unquote, concessions. You can't force a person who believes that abortion goes against their faith and God's word. And you have people in the Jewish faith, the Muslim faith, the Christian faith who all believe this. You're going to force a doctor to commit, a sin in their own faith against their own conscience. You're going to force a hospital that has been staffed and built and funded by a particular religion that rejects this because Kamala Harris says that it's a right? Is this how radical? And she will enforce this. This is the point, America. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Their position on abortion, that's not what Roe v. Wade says. That's not what it says. This woman is a radical on this issue. I can't compete with $1 billion in advertising and lies that the Democrat Party is running, that their marketing people are running, that their press is running. But by God, wouldn't it be nice if the media would actually tell the truth about what her position is? I know it's late. People are voting now. But I want to salute Hallie Jackson. I don't even know who the hell she is. Let's start at the top. Cut 19, please. Go.
What concessions would be on the table? Religious exemptions, for example? Is that something that you would consider?
I don't think we should be making concessions when we're talking about a fundamental freedom to make decisions about your own body.
To Republicans like, for example, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, who would back something like this on a Democratic agenda if, in fact, Republicans control Congress, would you offer them an olive branch? Or is that off the table? Is that not an option for you?
I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals.
You know, you're such an ass. Let's just be honest. You're not going to tell the truth. The answer is she doesn't give a damn what Susan Collins or Murkowski or anybody else. Her position is so extremist. Extremist. So radical. No wonder she didn't go to the Al Smith dinner. She didn't want to be there next to the Cardinal. No wonder Donald Trump in his interview with me today pointed out that she really has it out for Catholics. And it's really beyond that. Really beyond that. They act like there's no access to abortion. I just told you there were almost 1 million abortions performed after the Dobbs decision. 12% more, I think it was 12% or 11% more abortions since Roe v. Wade. The example they came up with a woman dying because she couldn't get access to abortion because Georgia didn't allow it, had nothing to do with the Georgia law, had nothing to do with her abortion, had to do with a medical malpractice in the hospital post-abortion. It's a lie. That's all they do. They lie. That's why she had to raise $1 billion. And this guy Hogan, this poor schlub, Larry Hogan, they're beating the hell out of him over abortion. They're just lying. Now here she is, Here she is. She's being asked about Biden, his cognitive decline. And remember, she's the number one cover-up artist in American history. She vouched for Biden's brilliance, how sharp he was, over and over and over and over again, when she sat next to him and she knew he was an idiot, a buffoon. She knew it. But she now benefits from them brooming him, from them destroying their own primary, from them disenfranchising 14.5 million voters and installing her while she has the gall to run around and talk about democracy. Let me tell you something. Every fascist and Marxist talks about democracy. Democracy. It's a word that means 1,000 different things to 1,000 different people. And the autocrats are the best at abusing the language. They're the best at it. I've never heard a fascist or a Marxist or whatever you want to call them not use the word democracy. So the Democrats use the word democracy when they hate your guts. Now listen to this. Cut 18, go.
Can you say that you were honest with the American people about what you saw in those moments with President Biden as you were with him again and again, repeatedly in that time?
Of course. Joe Biden is an extremely accomplished, experienced, and capable in every way that anyone would want if they're president.
And you never saw anything like what happened at the debate night behind closed doors with him?
It was a bad debate. People have bad debates. He is absolutely...
But that's the reason why you're here, and he's not running for the top of the ticket.
Well, you'd have to ask him if that's the only reason why.
What do you think?
I am running for president of the United States. Joe Biden is not. And my presidency will be about bringing a new generation of leadership to America.
All right, hold on. A new generation. What is she spewing here? The stupidity. So asinine. A new generation of what? A new generation. We're going to go to the future. We're going to turn the page. An opportunity. Shut the hell up. I'm sick of this crap. You have an obligation to tell the truth to the American people. Go ahead.
On the work that we need to do to invest in the ambitions and aspirations of the American people.
What the hell does that mean? The work we need to do to invest in it? She hasn't ever worked for a living. She's been a politician her whole life. What the hell does she think everybody's doing? They're investing in ambitions and opportunities. They're trying to get ahead. And she wants to tax the crap out of you and regulate the crap out of you and bully you and tell you what to do in the name of democracy. Listen to her. Listen to her. She doesn't have a level of maturity. I mean, so sophomoric. This is a nation that had George Washington as Thomas Jefferson. This is a nation that had Abraham Lincoln and Ulysses S. Grant. This is a nation that had Ronald Reagan and, yes, Donald Trump. Listen to this mumbling buffoon. Are you kidding me? I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
The majority status in the House of Representatives will be determined by 10 or 12 districts. One of them is the California 27th. Mike Garcia is running for re-election there. You know, Mike Garcia, I think I had you on a couple of years ago, and I'll tell you what's interesting about you. You have some members who are slightly to the right of you, some who are to the left of you, and they all respect you, to a man and to a woman. And so I want to say you're in a very tough race. You're up against a left-wing opponent who pretends that they're not a left-wing candidate. They're all doing this. And you're being heavily outspent. Tell us about your district and tell us about yourself and what's going on.
Well, thank you, Mark. That's a huge compliment coming from you and my colleagues. The bottom line is I'm in a district that's not purple. It's actually blue. I'm down to 29% Republican registration within my district. This will be the most expensive race in this cycle. It's been one of the most expensive races in the last 3 cycles. And we continue to hold a seat that on paper, you know, Nancy Pelosi has invested close to $65 million in trying to get, because on paper it does look like a doable do for the far left. And the reality is my voters and my constituents are rational. They may not be Republicans, but they do vote in accordance with their own security interests, and that's what they're supporting in my campaign. And you nailed it right on the head. The opponents continue to try to run as something that they're not. They're being seen as fakers and as someone who is not representative of the district, and they're being rejected because of that.
You have a military background, do you not?
I do, yeah. I was a former naval aviator, served off of aircraft carriers, flew F-18s for about 14 years, worked at an aerospace company for 11 years after that, and I had no real ambitions of getting into politics. I frankly had no desires to do so. I had never held office before, and in 2018 I saw what happened with that blue wave, and frankly I don't want my country to turn into what California has already become, and I felt like I couldn't just sit on the sidelines anymore, and I'm a big fan of John Adams, and I think the reason I garner the respect of a lot of my colleagues is that I don't do things out of fear. It's very, very much principle-based behavior rather than fear-based behavior. I don't have much respect for either party. I think we need weaker parties and stronger leaders, and I think as long as we continue to vote and run in the interest of the country with solid principles and not compromising our values, but still negotiating and compromising with each other, but not giving up on our core values, we can actually fix this country. And I firmly believe that we have achieved the weaker parties piece of this, and we need stronger leaders at this point.
The California legislature tried to redistrict you out of existence. I thought I remembered that you used to represent the Reagan Library and not anymore. Let me ask you this. Your opponent's name, and what does she stand for, or he?
Yeah, it's a he. This time it's George Whitesides. He stands for the same platform and everything else that, Hakeem Jeffries has been running on, Nancy Pelosi's been running on. They're trying to create a cloak and a facade of something else. He has funded George Gascon, who's the DA in Los Angeles County, who's like the Penguin of Gotham City, actually helping criminals. But now all of a sudden it's election season, and my opponent doesn't support Gascon, right? So they're blowing with the wind, and my race has been extremely tight ever since I've been in office in 2020 in November. After I came in a special election in May, my November election was won by just 333 votes. And that was in a 5-point redder district, meaning making a 5% more Republican. So an extremely tight race, and it will be that way, which is good. I enjoy the competition. Makes me better, and we will prevail.
Talking to Mike Garcia, if you want to help Mike Garcia who's running for re-election, electmikegarcia.com, Mr. Producer. Let's flop it on our social platforms. Electmikegarcia.com. This is one of the races that everybody's keeping an eye on. It's very, very important in California. And I'm guessing you're being outspent 2-3 to 1 or more, correct?
Yeah, that's right. We'll see the opposition spend anywhere between $20 and $25 million. And obviously now that the Dodgers are going to the World Series, they're going to be running ads during those World Series, which is wild that they can afford that. But we've got the right platform. I've got the right voting record. And again, what matters is that great word, security. It's a great unifying word right now, whether it's national security, border security, neighborhood, school security, protecting Social Security. These are the things that the voters care about, and they can spend all the money in the world and try to wag the dog with the false narratives that they're putting up on these commercials. But the reality is that our voters are paying attention to the issues that they care about, that matter most to them, and this is why we'll still overcome this spending deficit.
How's your ground game look?
Good. We've got one of the best grassroots campaigns in the country. We won Campaign of the Year back in 2020. We've got the same team. We've got 200 to 300 volunteers knocking on doors and making phone calls literally every day. We campaigned for 2 years because it's so close that we don't take anything for granted. And so this isn't a show up 2 months before the election kind of campaign. This is show up 2 years before election day, and we continue that constant contact with our voters. But then I also, on the official side, do 4-hour-long town halls. I'm one of the few members that actually still does town halls, and we're averaging close to 4 hours for the last 2 town halls we've had. So constant communication. Truly grassroots, and all politics are local. And in California, we've got a lot of challenges, and the voters respect that I get engaged even in local issues.
Sounds exhausting because given that your district, you got guys who run, they got 10-point, 20-point advantage. You have no advantage.
Yeah, and you know, I think if every district was a swing district like mine, we'd have better members of Congress, better challengers, better incumbents, people who care more, that get smarter on the issues, that run harder, that negotiate and compromise, but not their values. It'd be better for the country. And for me, there's nothing, you know, I've been willing to give my life in defense of this beautiful country since the age of 18. So running for Congress every 2 years is challenging, but it's nothing compared to the sacrifice that our military and our law enforcement do every day for us. So I'm more than happy to put it on the line every 2 years. And we're at a very critical time in our nation's history right now.
You're not kidding. I'm talking to Mike Garcia. And if you want to help him, electmikegarcia.com. What is your sense right now? I'm not going to ask you to predict the election, but do you see a trajectory, or who knows?
Yeah, I'm starting to see the momentum shift. I was worried about a month ago. You know, I think the smoke and mirrors have faded a little bit, and the Dem candidates have been seen as what they are. I think the JFK Democrat voters are finding a place with a conservative platform and Republicans, and that's going to make the difference for us here in November.
Well, we wish you all the best. You're a stand-up guy. ElectMikeGarcia.com, folks. If you can help him, please do. ElectMikeGarcia.com. It'll be on all our platforms. God bless you and good luck to you, my friend.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate you. God bless.
You too. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin, the great one.
The great one, Mark Levin.
Dial in now, 877-381-3811.
In Florida, almost 1 million Republicans have voted early, 42.44%. Democrats, a little over 800,000, 37.51%. Unaffiliated, 18%. So the Republicans of Florida aren't stepping up enormously, but they're stepping up more than the Republicans in Pennsylvania. I'm just being honest. You have 2.25 million early votes in Florida. 2.25 million early votes in Florida. Hold on, there's a couple other things here. Just stick with me. I want you to listen to James Carville. And I don't know why this old mental patient is all over TV. But he said something here that I think is important to reflect on. You know, even though he ass backed into it. Cut 12. He was on, of course, MSLSD. Go.
And people say, what's at stake in this election? Okay, the Constitution's at stake.
Really, you jackass? You barely literate buffoon? The Constitution's at stake. You and your stupid party don't even like the Constitution. You don't even like the ratifiers. You don't like the framers. You attack the Bill of Rights, you jerk. The independence of the Supreme Court, you moron. The Electoral College. You attack it all. Constitution's at stake. They hate the Constitution. They scheme against the Constitution. CRT. The 1619 Project. And all the rest of it. They're professors. They're tenured professors in our schools. Whether they be colleges, university, or law schools. They don't teach the Constitution. They teach how to destroy it. They're judges. They're activist judges like this Chunkin and all the rest of these clowns. They don't uphold the Constitution. They don't even believe in the original meaning of the Constitution. They think it's a living and breathing document that they can pour whatever radical viewpoints they have into it. This jerk says the Constitution's at stake. People need to know what we're dealing with here. The Democrat Party's never supported the Constitution. The party of slavery and segregation and Jim Crow. That's what it is. Now it's the party of Marxism, Islamism, autocracy, a centralized, all-powerful government. Again, they don't believe in democracy. They believe in mobocracy. Go ahead.
I don't know, what do you call it, a constitutional republic?
Yeah, moron, Mr. Illiterate. I don't know. Let me tell you a little story. Just keep your marker there on the audio clip, Mr. Producer. One of the first times I ever debated on TV was a show called Firing Line. Excuse me, what was that show on CNN? I don't remember. Everybody's yelling at the TV. Anyway, there were two guests and two hosts. And I was one of the guests, and Carville was the Democrat guest. And Pat Buchanan was there, and I forget the liberal's name. I don't know what's happened to Pat, actually. I hope he's okay. Crossfire, I think it was called. Yeah, Crossfire. And I whipped this clown's ass. Nobody thought they could whip this guy's ass. I whipped his ass. And that's when I got, the attention. I think Hannity saw me, or some of these other folks saw me at Fox and so forth, and started inviting me on and so forth and so on. But the point is, I can't get these people on my show. I don't want him. He's a backbencher moron. But we've invited Josh Shapiro on this show. We've invited Raskin on this show. We've invited Bernie Sanders on this show and AOC. What a bunch of gutless buffoons. Anyway, go ahead.
Proud people call it. I get it. We live under a set of laws. Is literally at risk, and he's telling you that. And people want to know about...
Let me tell you something. I don't want to hear this guy any longer. He makes you stupider the more you listen to him. Let me tell you a little secret. If Kamala Harris loses this race, she has no fear of going to jail. She has no fear of being prosecuted. None of them have any fear of being rounded up. None of them. If Donald Trump loses this election, he might go to prison. Do you understand what I'm saying? They talk about democracy and fascism and Hitler and dictatorships, the Constitution and the rule of law, rounding up people, sending them to prison. Let me be clear. There's not any Democrat in any part of our public life and our media that has anything to fear. They're a bunch of pigs. They're a bunch of slobs. They're a bunch of liars. It is Donald Trump whose liberty is on the line if he can't win this election. You understand what I'm saying? Kamala Harris will prosecute him. She'll prosecute him with the cheers of the Democrats in and out of the media, the cheers of the Democrats in Congress, the cheers of the Democrats in the media and in academia. That's exactly right. That is what you will see. They have no fear of any of it, despite their propaganda and their demagoguery. It's Donald Trump. If this election is lost, he will be the one that will be sent to prison. And by the way, Steve Bannon is in prison today. And under the first act, he should be released. He should have been released on October 9th. Quote, unquote, a first offender, a nonviolent offender. He's sitting in prison because he raised a privilege issue in front of the corrupt, dishonest, rogue January 6th committee. They held him in contempt. The Department of Justice prosecuted him. They threw him in prison. Merrick Garland was held in contempt. Nobody prosecuted him because he's in charge of the prosecutors. And they say that Donald Trump's the guy to fear when Bannon is being held in violation of federal law as I speak. It's sick. It's damnable. So these people that say you're going to be rounded up, you're going to be thrown in prison and on, Donald Trump's freedom is on the line. Will that help you vote early now, Pennsylvania? Will that help get you to the polls? You want to see this? You want to see the Democrat Party put Donald Trump in prison? Why do you think they've lined things up this way? Chunkin, the judge, the Stalinist judge, she's all set up for this. The unconstitutional prosecutor ruled so under the appointments clause by a real judge in Florida. This is the game plan. This is the game plan. Oh, Donald Trump's going to put us in prison. Oh, Donald Trump's going to round us up. Today, Joe Biden said Donald Trump's going to kill you. And they wonder why people are trying to assassinate him. And they take no responsibility, no accountability for that trash that comes out of their big mouths. None. I love all the happy talk by some of my friends on TV. Don't you, Mr. Producer? Oh, all the black young men are moving to Trump. All the Hispanic young men they're moving to Trump. Everybody's moving. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a one-point race, they're telling us, in every state. Something's not moving. Something is moving. I don't know. Maybe the numbers are right. Maybe the numbers are wrong. Is it really help us get out the vote early by putting happy faces on and being Pollyannas? I'm being honest with you. By God, I hope we have a landslide win. But it won't be because we're Pollyannas or we sit on our ass and expect somebody else to do the heavy lifting. That is not going to happen. Mark, come on now. Come on. We got to laugh. We got to dance. We got to entertain. We got 2 weeks, damn it. 2 weeks. You ever see the movie Patton? 1970, my most favorite movie of all time. He stand there, put a happy face on what was going on? Is that what happened? Did Abraham Lincoln put a happy face on what's going on? No. These are very trying times. These are times that are testing each and every one of us that love this country, who stand on the shoulders of our parents and our grandparents, and are trying to protect our children and grandchildren. These are trying times. These are not normal times. You hear what we're up against. You hear what they say. They trash our institutions, our traditions, the Supreme Court, justice system, the rule of law. They want non-citizens to vote. They don't believe in voter ID, for God's sakes. And the border's wide open with criminal gangs coming across. What is it going to take? So let's put a happy face on it, huh? No, let's not. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Kamala Harris has raised more money than any candidate in American history, over $1 billion, and she didn't get that from small donations. And just in case, Bill Gates just sent her another $50 million. The Democrat Party oligarchs, ladies and gentlemen, are circling the wagons against you. They like what's going on. They like open borders. They like high inflation because they get rich off of your misery. Another $50 million. That's a drop in the bucket to this guy. Another $50 million. What's he worried about? She don't have enough money? No, he's protecting his interest, his special interest. That's exactly what he's doing. Another $50 million on top of $1 billion so they can try and persuade you that she's not an idiot, that she's not a Marxist, that she's not an Islamist. Everything you stand for, she stands against. And by God, I hope we don't have to see it come to life. It's one thing when she's a flip-flopping imbecile who's trying to protect her backside and her positions that she's taken all these decades. But it's quite another if she's president of the United States. And I'm telling you, what a disaster. What a complete, unmitigated disaster. Another $50 million. And they caught her plagiarizing again. They caught her plagiarizing again. But that won't be a story because, you know, who cares, right? Another $50 million from Gates. Poor Kamala. What do they see in her that we don't? They see somebody who will do their bidding. Do you see how people get rich off of Marxism? How they get rich off of economic socialism? Look at Hezbollah. Nasrallah was sitting on $500 million in gold and money under a hospital near his headquarters. $500 million, which is a lot of money for terrorists. Bill Gates has joined other mega-rich donors like Mark Cuban by pushing tens of millions of dollars into the coffers that Kamala Harris has. This Mark Cuban, hasn't he demonstrated himself to be one of the biggest dumbasses you've ever seen? You got to figure, if that guy can make money, anybody should be able to make money, shouldn't they? Harris has repeatedly bragged of the largesse she's gotten from donations. They reported the Daily Mail. This is a real newspaper, this Daily Mail. To the tune of $222 million alone in September, according to Forbes. Over $1 billion since her campaign. So her campaign is 3 months old, 3 months, and she's raised over $1 billion. All the special interests in Washington. All the never-Trumper Republicans in Washington. All the billionaires in New York and L.A. and the rest of the country. They're all in. That is the ruling class, the establishment, the self-appointed elites who do not believe, even they're billionaires, in capitalism and competition. They're all against Trump. They're all against you. They do not want you to put this government back in the place that the Constitution compels. They do not want you to vote for somebody who will secure the border. They have an angle on everything. Just like Soros working the FCC, delivering them 220 radio stations. They need government. That's what they need. Gates, like his former wife. Oh, this guy Gates is another sleazeball. Has largely avoided partisan politics while running the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. This idiot, through the pandemic, Belinda said earlier this month her split from Gates and their massive philanthropic ventures led her to speak out on political topics as their children are developing into major players in the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party is where the billionaires are. Sure, there's some in the Republican Party, but Hollywood, the billionaire philanthropists, the vast majority of them are Democrats. Please vote early. Pennsylvania, you better wake up. I want to salute all you great patriots. I want to thank you for all you do. I want to thank you for listening to this program, and I'll see you tomorrow.